All right, very good. So, come on in, come back to your seats. I'm glad you're having such a good time greeting each other. Come on and sit down. And we're going to go ahead and begin with a song by Harold Payne. You'll see the words on the screen. It was written by Harold Payne and our own Karen Drucker, which he's going to tell you anyway in just a minute. But it's "You Are Welcome Here." And we know this one. So just join in. It goes on for a while, so you'll definitely be able to get the hang of it. But stand up and join us as we begin this morning with Harold Payne. He's going to be our start off. Oh, you've already greeted each other. I have to catch up with myself here now. All right, so here we go.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be back with you here today, albeit virtually, and hope to one day be there in person at the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. I'm going to start today with a sing-along congregational here that you've probably heard because I wrote it with your very own Karen Drucker. You are welcome here. We are welcome here. I am welcome here.
Here we go. You can sing at home too.
You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I am welcome. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. Arms are wide open. There's room for everyone. Wherever you're going, wherever you're from, you are home. You are welcome here. You are welcome here.
Great.
You are welcome here. You are welcome. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. We are welcome. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. I am welcome. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. Whatever you've been through, you found us somehow. Wherever you are on your journey now, you are home. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. One last time. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes. You may be seated. Thank you. Good job, everybody. So this is a time to silence your cell phone. Put it on Do Not Disturb, or turn the sound all the way down, or mute it somehow. You don't have to turn it off, but just keep it from disrupting us this morning. And we're going to, whoops, stop, Gary. I'm going to make him go back. Okay. We're just about to turn within for our morning centering. So this song is by Gary Lynn Floyd. And just allow yourself to start to go within, and then our morning practitioner, Leslie Giannetti, will be here to pray us in. So just go to the center now.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's error, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender. Let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore.
Loving Spirit, opening up to the full recognition that there is only one life, the mighty I Am Presence, pouring itself across the universe with love, with omniscience and omnipotence. It is the omnipresent life recreating everything in its image. It reflects itself through everything visible and invisible, creating a beautiful light of life in and through everything, known and unknown. That each one here is a unique, individualized expression of the loving presence of the light of life. That each one here is a vessel for the fullness and the wholeness and the completeness and the fulfillment of life expressing. So I speak my word and claim an opening in consciousness now for a deep and resonant realization of the one and only life and power operating through each one and assimilating itself through each one every moment by moment, in every place, in every realm, throughout all experience. And turning to this one is turning to the truth of being, love and truth, expressing only as it perfectly can through each one, and loving the life within is experiencing oneness, one life, one wholeness, one perfection. This is the truth of being for each one here. This is the truth of being for all life, for all time. And I give thanksgiving now for the opening in consciousness which allows for more truth and love to be reflected into the world for the greater good. And I release my word to the law of mind, which embraces my word to itself as a new creation, ready to be made manifest right now and forever. And so it is.
Thank you, Leslie.
Oh, I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of this love. I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of this love. You now. I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of this love. I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of this love. Spirit loves me.
Spirit loves me.
I know that.
I know that.
Spirit loves me.
Spirit loves me.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
Yes, gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of His love. I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of this love. Yeah. When I'm down, I turn to you. When I'm down, you pull me through. Yeah, I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of His love. I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I
broken, I don't know where to go. Got a feeling if I'm willing, spirit's opening the door. So I'm asking, passing time while I'm crashing in the last sad bath of confusion, and it's slow. A little knowing that won't let go. Can't ignore it, and you know I won't, cause it's growing in the open. No more hoping now. Spirit holds my soul and says you gotta let me love you now, for you are worthy of this love. So why not let me love you now, for you are worthy of this love.
I surrender every little thing. I surrender. Hear me sing. Yeah, I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of His love. I'm gonna let Spirit love me now. I am worthy of His love. I am worthy of His love. I am worthy of His love. I am worthy of His love.
All right, so you can see that this is a day that we're having multiple videos from different artists that we have experienced. Maybe we can dim the lights out there a little bit. Is that possible to do, Jim? Can we dim the lights out here just a little bit now? Great, thank you. All right, so where am I? I am thanking them all and moving into the theme for the, well, oh, that was impressive. Moving into the theme for the year, which is living from the heart of wonder. And so one of the interesting things that's been happening lately that's causing wonder in a negative way is all of the mass shootings. Oh my, now I'm in the dark. That wasn't quite what we had planned. All of the mass shootings have been taking place around the country in the United States, and there's a certain amount of distress about that. So I want to say a little bit about that this morning too, but we're in a new month now, and so June, the theme for June is revealing our abundant life. And I have said before that we are only capable of creating abundance, more and more abundance. It may be an abundance of negativity, but it's an abundance. So whatever we're focusing on, we create more of, and that becomes a challenge to us when what our focus is on is something that is distressing or upsetting or confusing or makes us mad or hopeless or grief-stricken. Everybody still with me here? All right, so speaking of abundance, while working for an organization that delivers lunches to elderly shut-ins, this gal says, I took my 6-year-old daughter on my afternoon rounds. She was unfailingly intrigued by the various appliances of old age, particularly the canes, walkers, and wheelchairs. But one day, I found her staring at a pair of false teeth soaking in a glass, and as I braced myself for the inevitable barrage of questions, she merely turned to me and whispered, the tooth fairy will never believe this. An abundance of teeth in the glass, right? So there is abundance everywhere. We're always experiencing it. We're always experiencing it. There is an abundance of spring happening. Spring flowers happening everywhere. We certainly have an abundance of people in the United States. But the problem with our experience of abundance is when we get locked into anything that we're obsessing about that is something that we don't want more of. Because it's very hard for us, we seem to have, as human beings, the difference between Teflon and Velcro in our consciousness. So good news tends to have an impact and then slide off, like Teflon. Negative news tends to stick, like Velcro. There's something in human consciousness that does that, and maybe it was a survival instinct that we needed to notice what might threaten us so that we could survive. But that gets to be problematic when we understand better that where we put our attention, we get more. So the question I'm asking this morning is, what does science of mind mean by the word body? You know, we talk about in our teachings spirit, creative law, and body. And by body, Ernest Holmes is not really talking about just your physical form. He's talking about everything that's in form. So body has more to do with just us, personally, our physical bodies, but it also has to do with everything that's in form. It has to do with all of the conditions and experiences of our lives. Those are part of the body also. Creation. And everyone and everything, past, present, and future, all of it is the body of the infinite presence, God. So it's really everything that is love in form, because the presence, that infinite intelligence, is the vibration of love intelligence. And there cannot be anything that isn't that. So that's really confusing when you look out there and see stuff you don't like, right? How can that be love in form? It sure doesn't look like it from over here. Anybody relate to this? Okay. So our founder said in The Science of Mind, the physical universe is the body of God. It is a manifestation in form of the mind of God. The manifestation of spirit is necessary if spirit is to come into complete self-realization, hence body. So in other words, what he's saying is that for the divine to express itself, it needs to overflow into form. And it does that continuously and constantly. So there is no beginning or end to what it can create in form. The infinite isn't just bound by what we see or our conditions and experiences, but none of it is outside of that omnipresent, infinite beingness. You with me here so far? Yeah? Okay. Deepak Chopra put it this way. He said, a flower, a blade of grass, a human body, when broken down to their essential components, are energy and information. The whole universe, in its essential nature, is the movement of energy and information. And Richard Nelson wrote in The Island Within, nature is not merely created by God, nature is God. Whoever moves within the forest can partake directly of the sacredness, experience sacredness with his entire body, breathe sacredness and contain it within himself, drink the sacred water as a living communion, bury his feet in sacredness, touch the living branch and feel the sacredness, open his eyes and witness the burning beauty of the sacredness. So here's the tricky thing then. If everything is that sacredness manifested in form, then we are looking at everything that is created to be expressed and to be experienced or perceived. So the infinite is expressing, but it's not just expressing to express, it's also expressing to experience and perceive its own beingness and expression, which is us. So we have our senses, we have our intelligence, and we get to experience and perceive and put meaning on what we experience and perceive. You know, when I first encountered A Course in Miracles in the late 1970s, one of the lessons in A Course in Miracles that really got me was like, what does this mean? Was none of these things I see from this window, from this place, wherever it is, mean anything. And then another one was, I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has. So in other words, as we build relationships with things and people, then more and more we generalize to other things and people that are similar. So we're carrying the meaning and we're putting it on what we're looking at. Intrinsically, its meaning is probably more than that, or we could even be wrong. But for us, we create and interpret the meaning. You still with me? Okay, so as we do that then, we come to experience certain things that we really like and want more of. Pleasures and enjoyment and friendships and love and beauty, and we want more of those things. And we also experience things that we perceive as not that. So pain and loss and alienation and cruelty. So we look at those things and say, I don't like that. I don't want any more of that. And we have learned as human animals to quickly categorize behaviors and things and people in those ways so that we can quickly determine if we want to engage more or less with that person, place, or thing. The trouble is that, first of all, we require that contrast in order to experience the spectrum of creation, in order to perceive it. We require all that contrast, and apparently, as creatures, we require the ability to assign meaning to those things so we can learn. And so we can take our learning and apply it. But we get into trouble when the learning then quickly categorizes people, places, and things into negative, ugly, bad, and so on. So we have a negative impression of anything that's rotting, of something that smells bad to us. You'll notice your dog is of a different opinion. Mostly what smells bad to us, they want to go and roll in that. But it doesn't appeal to us to go and roll in it, you see, because our sense of smell is different than theirs. And so we tend to assume that negative applies everywhere. But it doesn't apply to our dogs in terms of smell or visually. Something is appealing to us or it's not appealing to us. You know, oh shoot, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me. One of the things about human faces is that the most pleasing human faces to us are symmetrical. But most of us don't have absolutely symmetrical faces. So you look out into the world of theater and movies and television, and you'll see that a lot of the people, particularly in American films and television, have a very symmetrical, lovely look, unless they're villains. Now, that's not true so much if you watch British television. They have all kinds of people. So whether they're good or bad, they might be gorgeous or ugly as far as we're concerned, the way that their faces are constructed. But we tend to, in the United States, treat our actors the same way we treat our fruit. We want it to look perfect. Doesn't matter so much how it tastes, we want it to look perfect. I don't know if any of us actually decided that, but somebody figured it out for us. And so we are used to being able to categorize things in those ways. And that has served us pretty well. But some of what we interpret varies too, depending on our further experience or our emotional response to something. So we might really not like someone right up to the point where they do something we admire or we're impressed with, or they're particularly aware or kind in some context that we never associated with them. Then our opinion of them might change so that when we see them in the future, instead of having that negative filter in front, it's shifted now to a positive filter. Anybody ever change your mind about somebody? Yeah, practically everybody. So what changed? Did they change? Or did we change? Or did we just see more of something so that we could make a mental shift? But what was actually there from the beginning? So here's where we run into that challenge of what do we do when we see something that we really don't like, or we interpret something we really don't like? So how do we handle what we feel is negative or bad or ugly? I suspect that we're only seeing part of it when we label it that way. Now, there are situations that you can bring up and say, well, what about this? What about this? What about that person? What about the Holocaust? What about sex slaves? What about drug pushers? What about guns? What about, we get into that whole thing. One of the things we have to also be aware of is that we do not fully perceive ourselves as we are. Anybody have any negative criticisms about yourself? About your looks? About your personality? About your habits that you'd like to change but you can't seem to? Anything like that? And yet, when the presence that is us is looking at us and perceiving us, those things that we think of as flaws or negatives are just part of the expression and experience of the realm of possibilities. Because ultimately, nothing is really going to hurt the infinite, which is what we are. So while we're in form temporarily, we can experience things that are damaging or hurtful to us physically, emotionally, mentally. But our beingness, our essence, that which is ongoing, even when the physical body isn't around anymore to be a vehicle for this, is not broken and flawed and damaged and negative and hurt and ugly and all those kinds of things. Does this make sense? Okay. So when we look into those situations, we are contrasting all of this that we see and experience, our preferences and our opinions about that. We're contrasting that with the larger reality that is the spiritual truth. That's where the abundance of spirit really is. But it's always in there, behind, underneath, at the essence of what we're looking at. Okay, so right now in our country, we're looking at a lot of gun violence. And we might say, what do we do about that? You know, other countries have done stuff about this. How come we can't do something about this? But I think that what we also need to look at and understand is that those things arise out of something. Those gun shootings and the need, the perceived need for those guns, those automatic weapons, is a perceived need that is based on fear. I need to be prepared to defend myself and my family against you, or against the government, or against someone who is going to try to take something away from me that I value, that I want, that I don't want to have taken away from me. Are you with me here? Yeah? And when I feel that fear, then I take action to provide myself with whatever will make me feel safe. But it's arising out of a false interpretation. The interpretation that you, because you're different than I am, are dangerous to me. You, because you're different than I am, there's something wrong with you. And I don't want to let that into my experience or my family or my life. And so, you know, A Course in Miracles says there are really only two emotions, love and fear. That any expression of fear is actually a call for love and healing. So, perhaps that greater reality is something that those of us who get even the slightest idea that there is a greater reality behind these appearances, maybe it becomes then our inner work for ourselves to address and recognize and own and be honest about our own fear, our own condemnation of others, as well as parts of ourselves. So you may be somebody who wants an AR-15 at home, or you may be somebody who wants to take all those guns away. And both of those things are based on fear. One of them is defensive fear. Well, they're both defensive fear, actually. The AR-15 is, I feel safe if I'm packing. You know, if I can do an open carry, then I feel safe. Or, I don't feel safe if you are carrying weapons, or I know that you have a weapon, so I want to take those away from you so that you can't hurt me. So that arises out of fear too. And both of those opinions are causing greater conflict and more fear that is taken advantage of by those who benefit from that. Okay? Now, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But this is the view that I'm looking through it at. So it seems to me that even though I have more affinity for one of those opinions than the other, that the answer to the problem is connection. It is listening. It is love. It is making space for somebody else's experience. It is practicing seeing it differently. That's why I wanted you to move around this morning, and I noticed most of you didn't. We don't want to have to be someplace that we're uncomfortable. We don't want to have to see it differently. We're used to this. We know what this is. We understand how to be there, right? I mean, when somebody tells me to change seats, I resent it. I don't want to move. I'm all settled. I got my stuff. This is where I sit. It's my place, right? But think about how difficult it is to let go of the need for that AR-15, that felt need, or the need for laws that prevent me from having an AR-15. Think about how much more difficult it is to change that when you're not even willing to change your seat. Right? So it is difficult to change people's practice, their opinion of something, their interpretation of something, their consciousness. And it's hard to change ours, too. And yet, if we're going to find a way through this, we need to start finding honest ways to listen to each other and make agreements that allow all of us to feel safe and protected together. And that means that we have to practice seeing the other differently. We have to look at the more the insistence is pushed, the more that's fear speaking. You know, long time ago, when my son was about 10, he was going to be moving after school was out. He was living with me. He was going to be moving after school was out to live with his dad for several years, and I was only going to see him on holidays because they're up in Washington. And I thought, well, I've never had a pet, but it's time for me to have something that will be happy to see me when I get home. So I decided to get a cat. Never had a cat. It was actually a kitten. And so we got this kitten, and I told my mother that we were getting this kitten. And my mother said, "Oh, are you sure?" Now, we never had pets at home when I was growing up. My mom said, "Are you sure that you want to have a cat? I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. It takes a work." I had a 10-year-old child. It takes a lot of work. And I'm thinking, she doesn't think I'm capable of taking care of a cat? And I was complaining about this to my therapist at the time. And she said to me, "You know, when you describe what your mother is saying, what I hear her saying is, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid." And that really was a good description of the worry that was always going on for her and within her. I'm afraid. That's what required the worry, was a way of coping with the fear. Now, I was still mad at her, but at least I heard the message, you know, that was more true than what I had been thinking. So our choice then, instead of what do I do about all this stuff and resisting and pushing it away, becomes the question of, can I choose love instead of fear? Am I capable of allowing my releasing of defensiveness and allowing vulnerability to honor the other person's fear without igniting my own, and to be kind to the fearful person within them, knowing that underneath that fearful person, there is a being that is a vibration of love. There really is. But I can't see it at the moment, and maybe they can't see it either. So, A Course in Miracles would say, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And so I believe that we can see with people who seem to live with a sense of ease and fearlessness in their lives, that they're more available to give love, and they're not overwhelmed with the need to put up barriers. Maybe fair boundaries, but not barriers. So when I think of Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie, and this lady that I used to know who had come back from a near-death experience and was told that her job, if she chose to come back, was going to be to teach unconditional love. And she was someone who was no longer capable of anything else. She just exuded love. People who were angry or fearful or negative, it never fazed her. Jill Bolte Taylor, who had that stroke on the left side of her brain, which takes out the intellect for a while, she was immersed into that right hemisphere, which is expressive and creative and loving, not necessarily verbal, but that was where she went. So as she began to recover, because she was, I think, a neurologist or something like that, she understood what was happening to her. But as she began to recover, she made a conscious decision that she was only going to recover up to a point, because she didn't want to lose her connection to that greater wholeness that she felt, to her connection with other people. So she was willing to stop at a certain point in the recovery to maintain that awareness. But what it lets us know is that that awareness is available. And I don't think we have to have a stroke, at least I hope we don't, on the proper, side of the brain too, in order for us to be let loose into that experience. If you've ever been to any kind of a retreat or a setting where you felt completely safe with the people you were with, just as you were, and then try to take that experience home with you, you have an idea of the difficulty of doing that. When I used to go to Asilomar every summer, we were used to walking around the grounds at Asilomar in our summer conferences. Everybody said hello to everybody whenever they passed. We would stop and joke and talk with people we didn't even know. Our kids would run around the grounds and nobody worried about them. Now you have a week immersed in that, in workshops, in singing, in lectures, and you have that feeling of love for the place and the people and what you're learning and how you're connecting. And then you go home and try doing that with people you walk by on the street. Freaks them right out. They don't know you. Why are you talking to them this way? Even coming back, I remember years ago coming back from Hawaii into LAX and going through, the airport there. It was like being bombarded on every side from this, kind of loose, relaxed, easy, tropical pace. Can you relate to this, what I'm saying? The differences? So we live our lives day to day commonly in this guarded, protected energy that is so common to us that we don't even know we're doing it. When I hurt my back years and years ago, one of the reasons that happened, I realize now, is because every time I got in my car to drive anywhere, there was a part of me that was tightened up. And sometimes I notice myself doing that in the car, and I intentionally let it all go, because that eventually led to a locking of certain muscles over my sciatic nerve. And I want to tell you, you do not want to do that. So we are sometimes carrying tension in our minds and in our bodies that we're not even aware of. And every once in a while, it's really useful to check in and intentionally, consciously let go. And then, when we get used to that, to be able to practice doing it in situations where we feel a little uncomfortable. Not in situations that are great threat, at least not at this stage in our beingness. I mean, some of you might be there. I don't think we're all there yet. But we want to begin to bring to ourselves and to our experience with other people more and more listening and really hearing. Hearing through what's being said to where does the fear live under there, if that's the kind of message that we're hearing or the kind of communication that we're hearing. What's the fear there that is happening? Or what's the fear I'm feeling in me? What am I thinking I am in danger from? Listening, not only to the words, but to the feelings, and having compassion for that fearfulness in the other person and in ourselves. Because when we hear that anger and fear and whatever from somebody else or on television, it triggers us, doesn't it? Or many of us. It might make us angry or sad or hopeless or frustrated, but we have a feeling to respond to there that often is related to fear. At least this is my experience. I may be the only one, but this is my experience. And so what I want to be able to do is to bring trustworthiness to my conversations, to bring a trustworthy fairness, a kind of availability. Even though I told you not to sit close to me at lunch, to bring an availability to my presence and my interactions with other people, and kindness. More kindness. Can I cultivate and have more kindness within myself for those I disagree with, for their discomforts and their fears? Hafiz says, all the talents of God are within you. And he's speaking to everybody, not just to those of us that might be reading it. All the talents of God are within you. How could this So, this must be a really important quote because this has happened to bring our attention to it, right? So Hafiz says, all the talents of God are within you. How could this be otherwise when your soul derived from his genes, meaning genetics? How could it be otherwise? And so this is true for every soul that ever lived, or ever will live, or lives now, whether they know it about themselves or not. And Ernest Holmes calls us out of fear in his book, This Thing Called You, our founder, Ernest Holmes, by saying this: there is something within you beyond all doubt and fear, something which has never been limited by your acts or destroyed by your feeling. This is the only something that can make you whole. Not defensiveness, not an AR-15, not packing. Those things that are safeguards against other people are not going to make us whole. They might give us the illusion of being safer, but they will not make us whole. We have to do that. And the way that we have to do that is by cultivating love rather than fear. It doesn't mean that you can't pay attention to the news or what's going on in the world. Actually, what it means is that we pay attention to those things differently than we have in the past, that we open ourselves more to what's beyond that, the spiritual truth beyond that, the fearfulness that's behind it. And know that that fearfulness is actually an illusion. Yeah, we've collected a lot of evidence for that fearfulness, but now this is going to sound really bizarre, so be forewarned, but if you actually face someone who was about to murder you, and they really did murder you, but you face them with a recognition of their fearfulness and met it with love, that you would be released from this life in a very much less traumatic way. Now, I don't know that I could do that. I'd probably be paralyzed with fear. But the fear is a lie, because even if somebody kills this body, I'm still existing. I may be experiencing something very different, but I'm not living in the body temple anymore. But I'm still fine. I was not injured by that. Only the body temple was. Now, this may all sound nuts to you, and that's okay. But I wanted to bring forward for us today the idea that where there is an abundance of fear, there is also an abundance of love. I guess I'm the only one that remembered today, am I? to bring, no, I see a few pictures up here. Because last week was Memorial Day and we didn't do pictures on the altar for loved ones, I invited people last Sunday to bring some this morning. And the only one I had available was of my brother and sister-in-law, so they represent anybody in the family that ever passed. But what we have is an abundance of love for those who have gone on, particularly those from our own community that have gone on that we've loved so much, like Ron Ruda and Stanley Ellickson, those members that were here for a long, long time, whose energy and presence we miss. The abundance of love that we can get into contact with for those that are dear to us is a taste of that love we want to tap into to pass on in the world. So let's go within and see if we can then tap into that love within ourselves at a deeper level right now. So we move within. I know in this moment there is really only one. This vast one is the entire universe and more. It is fully present, expressing itself constantly with awareness everywhere. And this is also true in me. Therefore, everything I am, everything I imagine, even the very I amness, are we back? Oh, there we go. So for those of you that are online, just know that the second half of that prayer was really powerful. It blew out my own microphone, both of them, in fact. And you won't be able to hear the rest of that prayer probably online, but just know it was really good, okay? So now, I would invite you to stand and join me for the morning's affirmation. And so we're going to say this together out loud. Here we go. I love the gifts showing up as the people, places, things, and experiences in my life. I allow myself to welcome them all as the divine presence giving itself to me as love. And so it is. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. So as we enter our sacred giving time, I want to invite the ushers to come forward. And for those of you that are giving your tithes and offerings and gifts this morning, I'm going to ask you to prepare to hold that near your heart in just a moment. If you're giving it with a loved one, you can hold it in your hands together. And if you wish to text to make a donation, the number is up here on the screen. It's 415-779-7613. We welcome those as well. We are going to, together, bless everything that's being received this morning and everything that has been given and received in this past week, including blessing the gifts that we are ourselves. So join me in this offering blessing as we say, "This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time." And so it is.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be here. The song is called Standing Ovation.
Might turn it up a little bit, Rick.
If life is a comedy, the part that we play is never as clear as it could be. Or maybe a drama, who is to say? But it always turns out as it should be. And if I am a player who's played his part well and did it with humor and grace, when I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. Ooh, you write your own story as the pages unfold, but you're never quite sure of the ending. Maybe it's destiny, maybe it's choice, maybe we're all just pretending. In a tale of a lifetime, if it all comes around and you only receive what you're sending. When I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. Some have it easy, some have it all. Some work so hard for so little. We sink to the bottom and we rise to the top, but mostly wind up in the middle. The more we are different, the more we're the same. I'm just one more who's worked through the riddle. And when I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. When I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station yes I will. Thank you, everybody.
So now, all of us together do accept this offering on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. And we know that because it has been blessed here, we send it out with the intention that everywhere it goes, it creates a healing. It plants a seed of more love. And so it is. Thanks, Dave. I want to thank all of these musicians this morning. That was Freebo. In just a little while, our closing song will be with Doug LeBeau and friends. You'll see that in just a minute. So I wanted to especially thank them. If you're with us for the very first time today, at the back table, you will find welcome packets. They say welcome right on them. You're welcome to take one. Of course, you're welcome. And inside, you'll find a blue card that says welcome on it. If you fill this out and turn it in, Galen is holding those up at the back, and we can probably turn the lights back up now, too. Fill out the blue card, turn it in. She will give you a little book as our thank you to you. And this is a book of affirmations you can use for all kinds of situations in your life where you want to bring more love to the situation. Now, we hope that you'll come back and be with us often, that little book will remind you that we're here, and you'll take advantage of it and carry it around with you to use as needed. Also, I want to thank everybody in sacred service today, and I didn't mention them, but especially the men who are providing the brunch for us this morning. Yes, we're so enthused to have the men's brunch back this morning, so that'll be immediately after the service. I do want to thank Rick Walt, who's doing sound this morning. I've still got to get my calendar straightened out on who's doing what with the sound. Jim gets credit this morning, but it's Rick who's doing it, so there you go. I am starting a new member class. This is going to be beginning in July, and today is the day that we begin the registration process. We have a sign-up sheet at the back. So if you're interested in participating, Paula's waving the sign-up sheet. It's back at this table back here. If you're interested in participating in the new member class, it's 3 sessions that are 2 hours each. It's going to be on Zoom this time, and you can register for it. It's the three Sundays in July, starting with July 10th. So 10, 17, 24, new member Sunday will be the 31st, and the Friday before that will be the new member reception. So when you sign up, you're online for all that stuff. I don't mean it's all online. The reception will be somewhere, and new member Sunday will be here. But the class will be online, and you can sign up for that this morning or drop an email to our administrator, Sonia, at administrator.ggcsl.org if you would like to participate in the new member class so she can get the handouts out to you. And once again, the Heart to Heart team is having their meeting. That's our pastoral care group. That's going to be at Cafe Verdi next Sunday, right after the celebration service. And Cafe Verdi is right across the street over here. And if you're interested in participating in our pastoral care team, go ahead and go over to that meeting after the service. Sue Ruda is the Heart to Heart coordinator, and she'll be happy to welcome you. The men's brunch, as I said, is happening this morning. They've been in there creating wonders, and we're going to have brunch afterwards. It's only $10, so feel free to go over. There's no requirement other than $10 and be friendly. So, and that money is a fundraiser, after the expenses are paid, is a fundraiser for the church. So we hope that you'll stay and enjoy that. Also, Susie Coity is doing another shoreline cleanup in the same location. This is going to be on Saturday, the 18th of June from 10 a.m. to noon. The gloves, the water, the garbage bags and the snacks are all provided, but only if she knows how many people are coming. So, Susie, would you stand up so they know who to talk to this morning? And it was great that they did this last time. Do you want to say anything quick about that, Susie? Yeah. Right. Great. So Susie's the trash lady. She said they had a really good time last time, and it made a big difference. They carted off 15 big garbage bags of trash. So this is happening again, and if you want to be helpful, it's a beautiful view out there. Go out and hang out with some really sweet people and get to know a little bit more about some other GGCSLers by joining them. Let Susie know either via her email address or talk to her this morning if you want to participate in that. She can give you more info. Oh, or just show up. Okay. Or you can just show up. All right, and the final thing this morning is our climate action tip to say no to plastic produce bags. You can actually buy cotton ones from any of these companies if you're interested in having a bag for your produce, but as they said on the website listing there, and you can take a picture of that if you want to go to the website and get more of these tips because they're really great. But it said, what are we worried about? That the broccoli and apples won't get along with each other in the cart? We're going to wash them when we get them home, right? So, anyway, a little sense of humor there for your shopping, but you might want to consider not picking up more disposable plastic bags at the grocery store so that other people don't have to pick them up in the parking lot or someplace else later on. All right, that is it for the announcements. Please remember that our prayer request box is available on the table over there every Sunday, and you can feel free to put a request in at any time if you're having difficulty in your life and you want support. Also, the people at the table this morning are our practitioners on duty, and they will pray with you after the service. Oh, yes, we're having a picnic. We're having a picnic. We want you to put that on your calendar. It's the last Sunday in June, which I guess is also the day of the Pride Parade, so it's going to be a busy day. But there is a sign-up sheet back there where you can indicate what you're going to bring for the picnic. And we'll have it out here in the park, and we're just going to have a blast. So we hope that you'll plan to be there for that. All right. So would the practitioners please surround the room as we prepare to do our closing prayer together. All right, and I invite you just to turn within one more time as we know together and remember that there is only one, and it is all of us. We are all fully that presence, and so is the next person, and so is the next person. The infinite is expressing itself through all of us in all of these different ways, whatever we choose to express as. And so this week, we open our minds and hearts to be an expression of love in the world, of kindness, of listening, of compassion, of seeing through the appearances of anger or self-righteousness to the fear underneath, including with ourselves, and to do this with kindness and compassion. We claim that, and we claim the reminders from Spirit that allow us to recognize in those moments where we're called to do this. So we bless the coming week and each other, knowing for each other that these reminders are heeded and we are kinder and gentler and more compassionate throughout the week. We're so grateful to be seeded with this love. We let this word go into the law and just let it unfold beautifully for us. And so it is. And I invite you to stand now and join us for the benediction and the closing song. So we're going to speak our benediction together right now. I want to get the words to the closing song in front of me because I can't see them. Okay. Together. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. And now for the closing song, and this is really fun. Easy too, and you'll see the words.
1, 2, 3.
I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. And beautiful harmony. We are pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. And beautiful harmony. We are pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit and who we are. His pure spirit and who we are. His pure spirit.